We are spraying the cab in this week's video. But what colour are we going to be spraying it? Well, you'll just have to watch the video to find out.
We're professionals. We can use a spray gun. Can't use rattle cans, especially not in pink. Did you want to do pink?
We are Lisa and Tim of Old Rope Salvage, and we are currently building an off-grid home on wheels from the remains of this 1975 Bedford fire truck. At the end of 2020, we decided we wanted a big project, and after buying the truck from eBay last November, we quickly realised that a big project is exactly what we'd got.
Wow.
For the past 8 months, we've been working on the base vehicle, removing the cab from the chassis and taking the whole thing apart, stripping it down to the shell, removing the paint, sanding, scraping, grinding, welding, some crying, a couple of injuries,
In here!
sandblasting, applying primer, more sanding, more primer, oh, and more sanding.
Time yet?
Let's go when you finish.
It's been a long road just to get to this point, and after a big couple of weeks in the workshop, we've finally gotten this old lady into her top coat.
Oh, it's lovely.
And this week, we're ready to share her new colours with you. Any last minute guesses? Want a clue? Let's just say it's all gone very 1970s around here.
We're finally getting around to doing the thing we've been waiting a really long time for and promising for a long time. We are actually putting the colour, the top coat onto the cab. But first of all, we do want to just backtrack a little bit, or show you a little bit more of the preparation for the top coat, and we do want to talk just a little bit about our paint choices and the kind of paint that we've used.
It was quite difficult trying to understand what to paint the truck in. I haven't painted a car or anything for a long time, and back in the old days there were only a few different kind of paints really available to us. And I'm going to round it down to what I think are the basic paints. The first one, which is probably the most common, most modern vehicles are painted in this, is what they call clear over base. It's basically a base coat which contains all the colour. Generally speaking, with modern vehicles, they're normally a metallic these days. You do get flat colours, but a lot of all the metallics are in the base colour. And if you want to paint metallic, I think this is pretty much what you need to use, really. The base is the colour, and then to protect that base, a lacquer coat, the clear, goes over it. Gives it UV protection. It's the hard-wearing part of it. Another one which is still used, but is a bit more of a basic paint, is the synthetic enamel paints or coach paints. These are oil-based paint. They take longer to dry. They can be quite hard wearing. They're used quite a bit on chassis, tractors, farm machinery, but maybe not what you want to be painting your bodywork with. Unless you're going to be doing a real budget respray with you want some hard wearing paint and you're going to be using a roller over your car or whatever, maybe that's a choice. The third one is what I kind of used in the past, and this is what the Americans call lacquer paint, and we tend to call cellulose paint in this country. It's a solvent drying paint, so you put thinners with your paint, you spray it, and it dries through the evaporation of the solvents in it. This is kind of semi-outlawed a few years back because of the VOCs, the fumes that's got given off it. And so you're not supposed to use this in spraying a vehicle unless you're spraying an old car. I think it's over 30 years old. It is still available, but not as easy to get hold of. Then we get to the fourth one, which is a two-pack. This is a 2-component paint. Colour comes in one can, and then a hardener is mixed with it to create a paint which sets through a chemical process. This creates a really hard wearing paint. It has good gloss and all that kind of thing, and that is the paint that we've decided to try out. We are going for a direct to gloss paint, so there's no lacquer needed with this. We mix the two parts together, we spray it on, job's done. The reason we've probably gone for this is I wanted to try it out. It's supposed to be a very hard wearing paint, which would be good for our vehicle. Hopefully we can also use it on the chassis and all the other parts. But basically that's what we're going for. I'm worn out.
Cup of tea.
So somewhere between that cup of tea and starting the top coat, there was still some preparation left to do. Yep, just when you think it's all over, there's always some more sanding lying in wait. You may remember that our original intention was to top coat everything, that is panels, wings as well as the cab all together. But rather predictably, we still don't have mains electricity, so we're doing what we can as we can, which means firing up the generator for one section at a time. With all the layers of primer now on, the only thing left to do is to prep each section with one last very fine sand, ideally finishing with a 400 to 600 grit for a super smooth finish. The other key element in this final stage is in the block sanding and using colour guide coats. Our method for doing this was to use a very light coat of black spray paint dusted over the high build primer. This gives a visual of what you're sanding, allowing you to see any dents or scratches in the primer, which can be block sanded until the imperfections disappear, including any orange peel effects you may have accidentally put into the primer during the application. At this point, Tim also switched to wet sanding, just to stop the paper from clogging up with the very fine dust. Chances are that some of this would need going over again at some point, particularly if overspray from the top coat messed it all up. But it was looking good for now, and well, we're taking the wins where we can.
In the bad, bad, bad. Caught up in the moment, we tied the knot.
The last time I painted something quite a long time ago, there seemed to be a lot of shops around, auto factors. You could tell them what kind of paint you wanted. You could take in a piece of your kitchen and get someone to match it up to your colour of your choice. You could give them a paint code, and they would just go behind, in the back room or behind their counter. They would mix the paint up and hand it to you, and you would walk away.
I feel like we're giving away our age slightly
Yeah.
by saying back in the day.
Even though we live quite near a fairly large city, we were finding it very difficult to find anywhere that would work that way or would do that. I did the next thing that I would always do. I got eBay up. We kind of decided to take this route, partly because, like many other people who are restoring an old car or wanting to paint a car, this is kind of the route that's available to people. So we thought we'd try it and talk about our experiences and see if budget paint is rubbish or if it's okay. There's a couple in the UK of people who seem to be, a lot of the names come up of the types of paint quite a lot. There's a Jawel, which is in the Midlands in the UK, and the second one is Paints. Rather than just ordering it off their website, we kind of went to the company, I believe who manufacture it, called Advanced Paints, and spoke to them. We bought a litre to try out and paint the roof. So we ordered that, the paint with the hardener, and got some thinners so that we could mix with it. And I painted it the next day.
And it was brilliant.
Yeah.
And we're going to show you that now.
Truck's at a funny angle, held up by blocks of wood. Safe-ish. I think rather than spraying it flat, where I have to lean right across the roof to get even to the middle of it, and I was a bit worried about getting dust on it or touching it with the airline and all that kind of stuff. I think I'm going to try and do it like this, so it's like right over and I'm like painting a wall. I don't know. Hopefully it'll get less dust in it, and we'll see what happens really. All I've got to do now is cover it with some plastic to mask off the areas I don't want tons of overspray to hit. Give it a degreasing, tack cloth it and spray it. I'm a little bit nervous. And sneezy.
They call me the juggler, 'cause I always have 3 lovers, and I burn through Trojan rubbers like no other. But when I'm not between the sheets, I'm busy staying undercover. Ain't as sweet as it seems being the juggler. Yeah, 'cause Edith likes eating at East of Eden, where Wendy works on Wednesday evenings, and Donna Lee does her laundry 2 doors down. So when I'm out to eat with Edith, I'm always worried Wendy's watching, and equally that Donna Lee's gonna be around. And what's worse is Wendy lives by the Wally world, and Donna Lee goes to the pharmacy, and Edith sits so I choose to keep alone.
Now on to the exciting bit. I'm a little tiny bit nervous, but we're all prepped up in the tent. It's all degreased. I've just got to go over just before we start painting with the tack rag and blow it over with a bit of air. Got the new spray gun ready and waiting. I'm looking forward to trying this out. Might take a little bit of fine tuning, but woohoo! And we have our paint. So this is obviously we're just painting the roof at the minute, and in a moment I suppose I'll be giving away the colour of the roof. But what we got here is we mixed this one 2 parts paint to 1 part hardener. And again, we can use up to 10% of 2-pack thinner with it to, you know, like spice to taste or get it to flow how you want it. I think you can use it just with a paint, or you can put that in it if you want to. So let's go on and mix the paint up, measure it out, start spraying. What colour is it? Okay dokie, well, that's it. WT03, that's the paint code, and I'm sure there's many people will know what that is, and even more won't. This is quite a classic old colour. It's Old English white, and it's what we're going to paint the roof and some of the bits and pieces with. Looks a bit, yeah, greenier in here today. 300 millilitres of paint, 150 millilitres hardener. That a good mixing? I could try it straight off in the spray gun, and then mix some thinners if I need to. Yeah, it's still a touch thick. And now I've gone and stirred it in, won't get to see the marking for my thinners. What an idiot. Oh. Alright, let's get masked up, get the compressor on, tack rag over it, get some paint down. Also, now that we've moved into the last coats of paint, I'm going to start filtering the paint out, just in case there's any lumps in it. The better the finish we get now, the less work, if any, we'll have after it. So you can always sand it down, the top coat, and polish it, but it would be nice not to have to. So we're just going to like to see how it goes, really. If it goes on good, great. If it doesn't, we've got a little bit more work to do with sanding it and polishing it. But to be honest, on the roof, it's going to have to be pretty bad to sand it. Fingers crossed, goes on alright. Right, let's get going.
And so at last, Tim started on the task of putting down the top coat. It had been a long road to reach this milestone. So much prep, so much sanding. And as is always the case, the final stage seems to take hardly any time at all. Everything is in the prep. Get this right, and fingers crossed, the final part of the job should be a breeze.
And I'd have to explain that they call me the juggler, 'cause I always have 3 lovers, and I burn through Trojan rubber like no other. But when I'm not between the sheets, I'm busy staying undercover. Ain't as sweet as it seems being the juggler.
I didn't realise I'd left you running. Tiny bit of sagging in the paint here. I put it on too thick. I put the first coat on way too thick. I didn't realise the gun was putting out quite so much paint, but it's good. We try it out on the roof, kind of learn from that. I should have put a much lighter coat on, particularly first one. And I only put 2 coats on it. It was like, I think that's enough. Yeah, tiny bit of sagging here. There's something, a little tiny mark, something's gone in the paint over here. It's very small, tiny bit of like, I don't know what it is. And there's a little bit of a beginning of a run down here. But it looks really good. I mean, the panel looks so flat and smooth. And it's pretty shiny. We'll see how it dries. But so far, I mean, it's very yellow though. Is this what Lisa really wanted? She wanted a yellow truck.
Oh, it's lovely.
Do you like it then?
Oh yeah.
What about the colour?
Oh, I love it, yeah.
I told the camera you'd probably like the colour.
I'd say that's just exactly the right colour.
Cool.
That's exactly the right colour. Anxious this morning, aren't we? A little bit. This should be the most exciting big day for us that we've been working up to for ages, because it is the day that we start putting on the main part of the top coat. Yeah. It's a beautiful morning, it's perfect. We're actually waiting for the paint to be delivered this morning, and we're just masking up to start on the interior of the cab. But we're like,
yeah, it should be really excited, but we're having colour anxiety because what we've chosen is a pretty horrible colour.
It's a little bit, shall we say, unconventional.
Yeah, it's the only colour that's known to devalue a car. On the Porsche 356 is a known fact that this is a devaluing colour. And that's what we're picking. So, yeah, we got a little bit of anxiety over that, really. It's a lot of time and effort to spend into something then to paint it.
Yeah, it kind of feels like wedding day jitters or something. It's like, do I really want to be married to this colour for the rest of my life? But we had, we'll talk about it a little bit more when the paint actually arrives. But for now, we're just masking up. I'm feeling like I need a cup of tea because my throat feels really dry, and I am excited about getting it on. I don't know what you guys are going to make of it, but we have a vision, and this is the key thing really, because the way we are kind of looking at it is that this is like the canvas on which the sign writing and everything else will take place. So I do feel confident in this colour. I do. It's just having last minute wobbles over the weekend when we almost capitulated to going to a really nice sea blue colour after a friend of mine on Facebook, Jeffrey, thanks for that. When the colour arrives, we'll show you it and we'll talk about it a little bit more. But for now, let's get on and mask this thing.
Yeah, I'll get going.
Are you worried yet? Well, probably not as worried as we were at this stage. While we waited for the paint delivery, we finished degreasing and taping the interior, ready to start spraying, and we tried not to doubt our decision too much. We had always wanted this particular colour from the start, but issues with finding the exact shade were giving us the last minute wobbles, particularly as we had spent so much effort considering the options in the first place.
Experience so far with them has been really quite positive. They were really helpful on the phone. We're in no way sponsored by them, it's just our experience. We paid like anyone else does. Later in the video maybe we'll talk about our experiences of spraying the paint. We had a bit more difficulty in finding the colour, but that's no reflection on them, that's more on us and our choices. They were really helpful in fact. We wanted originally a very old paint code from a car that was, I think it was only available in the 50s, and quite understandably they couldn't find and couldn't match that. They would have done if we'd have sent them a sample, but instead we chose some other colours, and they kindly sent us 3 different types of paint that we could try out and see which one we liked the best.
Different colours, not different types of paint.
Sorry, different colours. And yeah. So our experience with them was really good. Yeah, thank you very much. They were really helpful, Advanced Paints, and thank Ainsley, who was the person we were speaking to on the phone. Really helpful, very friendly, and sorted us out with the right paint. We worked out the type of paint we wanted. We managed to get the colour we wanted. The third question really is budget-orientated paint. How good is it? Certainly it was a pretty good price. I think in the end, when we had bought 5 litre can of paint with 2.5 litres of hardener, with postage and VAT, about 140 or £40, £45. So it's certainly a lot cheaper than the auto factors were wanting for paint.
Yeah, I can't say that I'm unhappy with that.
Yeah.
I think that's really good.
We also chose they did 2 ranges as well. What they call the commercial paint is slightly different pigments, and then their premium range. And we thought, well, we're getting budget paint, we'll spend a few quid extra, and we got the sort of more premium paint. It was available at £79 plus VAT for the basic 5 litre of paints plus hardener. I'm knackered.
We really were quite tired by this stage and keen to get on with the rest of the painting. But a sit down and a cup of tea in the autumn sun later, and it was finally time to crack on.
Let's stand up! I'm a bit eager to see what it looks like.
We got some samples sent to us, and we chose one from the samples. Tim's kind of hoping that this is going to be completely different, because since we chose the sample, he's kind of like had cold feet. So
Oh. 3. So we got 2-pack paint again. This is the gloss coat. It's a 2-to-1, so we've got, there's 5 litres of here and 2.5 litres there. Should be enough to do several cars. I mean, we were going to paint the back of the truck, the chassis, and all sorts of other bits and pieces with it. So this is a really big decision. It is different. It's much darker and it is redder. Chocolate! Is it No, this is called, it's a special mix. It's Undrope Salvage Dried Tea Bag. Is that Ethan?
Ethan! Yay!
You finally made it on one of our videos. I don't know if you can hear that, but... Alright. There's no turning back now. Next time you see us, we'll be spraying. Ugh, it's disgusting colour. I mean, really, what are we doing? This is supposed to be the first light coat.
Yep, we really did decide to paint our Bedford truck brown. Of course, this shouldn't really come as a surprise to anyone. Our boat was brown, the old Ford truck is brown, and then there was this slight spoiler.
You can't paint a car brown. Oh yeah.
I think you can.
We had our doubts, but as soon as Tim got started with it, we fell in love, and we knew we'd made the right choice for us.
It looks marvellous! It's so shiny. Third part of our instalment is basically how good did the paint work? Well, let's keep this one pretty short, I think, really. It mixes, it's pretty cool. We sprayed it, it went on really nice. The gloss straight out of the gun, I mean, I don't know if that's an indication on us and spraying it and our preparation or our spray gun, but that all worked well. But the paint just was really lovely. It goes on nice, it covers incredibly well. The light colour we used on the roof, it covered in the first coat, it was like really good. It dries, like in a few hours it's kind of almost, it's like touch dry, and the next day when we come down back it's kind of it's drying up really good. The bits that have been on there a little bit longer now seem to be really good. I've sanded them back down and it seems pretty solid. So at the moment anyway, it's got a really good gloss, and I suppose that only time will tell really if it stands up to the UV rays and a bit of harder wearingness. Maybe we'll come back to this at a later date and see if it's still performing all right. But our experience with it, using it now, is it sprays really nice, covers really good, flows out really nicely, and it's got a great gloss. So it's pretty nice paint. I would totally recommend it. And if you haven't tried using 2-pack, this is a 2-pack acrylic paint. Give it a go. Pretty cool.
Thanks so much for watching and for sticking with us. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with the rest of the paint job, when we'll hopefully be showing her off fully done up in her new colours. See you then!